Have you ever gone on adventures and traveled and just felt like you were in a video game of sorts, or NPCs were taking you on magical quest lines? Well, today, me and Shannon will take you on one such adventure as we travel into the portal that is Kansas City, Missouri.
I think all of us can say that we fear that leap of faith, that finding comfort in other people, that going the extra distance and seeing the things we never thought possible in ourselves and in others. And that is the ultimate wonder experience.
Thanks everybody for tuning in once again to Wonder XP podcast. I hope you liked the previous guests, Derek Michael DeJernis and Ryan Detman of Central City, both high school friends of mine, excelling in different areas of life, along with James Cliver, if you haven't checked that one out. And there's also Ty Sells, the actor that sold out to try and become a Hollywood Scarlet star. With me today is, of course, and always, Shannon Shine. And today we're going to talk about our adventures through Chicago and KC. Now, Shannon hasn't been to KC, but I have several times, so my opinions are more so biased. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with Chicago, since neither of us have been there, and we, if you would like, can compare the two.
Well, thanks for introducing me. It sounds like you've been quite busy with all the other podcasts. Listened to several of them. They were great listens. Definitely recommend. As far as Chicago compared to KC, not really sure there's a comparison there. They were two totally different cities with totally different vibes. Both very new and exciting in their own right. I think I honestly enjoyed Kansas City a little bit more as an artist than Chicago. Chicago was beautiful, but just quite busy. And I don't want to say that it was less of a friendly vibe, but it definitely felt more welcoming and exciting to be in Kansas City.
Well, that's kind of the Midwest way of life there, even though it's, I think, 500,000 people live in Kansas City if you include the metropolitan area.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of people that were friendly and nice to meet in Chicago. We met a nice couple that was also traveling. We met some crystal shop owners that were really intrigued with talking with us as travelers. But overall, I feel like anywhere we went in Kansas City, there was somebody that was excited to talk with us, excited to tell us somewhere else to go. They sent us on all sorts of side missions and adventures. Where Chicago, we were kind of more considered tourists and just kind of bopping from one event to the other. And maybe that is because it was new to both of us, but yeah, I don't know. It was quite a different adventure and experience in both cities.
So I was correct that the population of Kansas is actually 486,000 versus Chicago's metropolitan community of 2.7 million. So there is quite a significant population difference there that you could argue might play a role. As far as like maybe New York goes, because New York kind of has a similar, or LA, I did feel the people of Chicago were a lot more friendly and a lot more willing to communicate, especially the Uber driver we got on the way back from the pier.
Yeah.
What was
Oh man, I can't remember her name, but she was fire. She was so excited to just have us in her car, and she told us all about it. Funnily enough, she told me that once I unlocked my first plane adventure, that it would be like I was missing something my whole life, which is kind of true. Soon after that, I took my first plane ride actually to Florida and then to Kansas City, and that was quite an adventure. But that lady was a hoot. She was very entertaining. She had a lot of commentary on the surroundings. But yeah, compared to New York, Chicago has a much different vibe. I've been to New York myself, but like I said, Chicago was just more touristy, where Kansas City, despite the fact that we were going to sort of touristy different galleries and things, I didn't feel like a tourist there.
Yeah, it was significantly different in the fact that it just felt like people would just come out of the wet works. Well, not even come out of the wet works. I can't say that. People would just like anybody that's ever played Skyrim, when you go up to a character and they just randomly encounter you and then they talk to you, then all of a sudden across your like HUD display, there's just like this quest line. It's like, doo-doo-doo, go seek the chalice of freedom or something like that. And it
Mm.
just seemed like we kept getting taken on those journeys.
Side
Even
quest.
even your aunt had one. Like she neglected to tell us until like pretty much the third to last day of us being there. And you were all about that 6 a.m. adventure.
Oh man,
And
it was more like 4 a.m. But yeah, we went to
yeah,
Penguin Park, and that was probably one of the highlights of my trip. Honestly, it was just such a silly little random side quest.
yeah, the penguin was huge. I think it was like what, 24 feet tall or something like that.
Oh man, it was bigger than that. She said
You
it was
think so?
100 foot. I don't think it was 100 foot, but it was
No, there's no
huge.
way that's 100 foot. Like
I
I've seen
mean,
100-foot towers, and that's not 100.
yeah, she was exaggerating a little bit, but it felt rather ginormous. There were penguins and giraffes and elephants and kangaroos, and it was like a
Yeah,
kids park. But at 5 a.m. when you're sleep deprived and need coffee and dropping off friends at the airport, it's a nice little side quest.
yeah. Like I totally. And then, well, so we had to wait for the park to open, and Shannon wanted coffee. So we ended up driving to like the most ratchet part of KC. And I was just totally like, I didn't say anything. I was just like, it's in the morning. We're going to get this Chica coffee. She's going to be excited for it. We pull
Yeah,
up to the gas station. She's like, why are you pulling up to a gas station? And I was like, these are literally the coordinates
it
you gave
wasn't
me.
even a gas station; it was a liquor store. It was straight up a liquor store. And I know I am not the only person that puts iced coffee in a GPS and then it takes you to the most random spot. I was like, oh, Dunkin' Donuts, they'll probably have iced coffee. It was literally a self-serve in the middle of a liquor store at like 5 a.m.
Yeah, the craziest thing is there's some dude sweeping the parking lot of this ghetto area at 5 a.m. So we we're like sitting there communicating to each other, and then she's like, you know what? McDonald's will have iced coffee. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Type in a McDonald's, we'll go there.
Another fail. I hate McDonald's also. I like it's like literally the last resort. I'm like, they may have a frappe and they were not having it.
They were not having it. They wouldn't do coffee. They wouldn't do frappes. I don't know if it was just like an off day or whatever, but like I was like, yeah, dude, can I get a frappe? And he was like, we can't do a large. And I'm like,
No one said
what is
large.
no, yeah, no one said large, bro. Like, okay, what about a nice coffee? Yeah, we so that oatmeal, you just want oatmeal? And then I was like, yeah, sure, dude. Fuck it. I want oatmeal. 100%.
I mean, you did score me iced coffee and a hot chocolate chip cookie, so you did win that. I was quite grateful for both of
Yeah, I don't
those.
think you guys have scooters out there, do you?
We do not. So that was a whole
Yeah.
new thing. I was so stoked because little did you know I also wanted chocolate and that made my day so much better. So that penguin
Yeah.
adventure was 10 times better with iced coffee and chocolate chip cookies that were hot.
The last place we got to before that, she's like, all right, I'm not giving up on Dunkin' Donuts. So she typed in another Dunkin' Donuts. And I thought we couldn't get into it any worse area of town. And she's like, this is the same gas station we went to. And I'm like, no, Shannon, this is a different gas station. This time
Just as ghetto.
there's a liquor store and a view. There was literally a grass field full of tents and stuff of homeless people. And yeah, so
I
that
mean,
was her. What?
I mean, that wasn't as bad as the homeless people in the corner dancing with their bottles. That was also quite interesting. We're not making Kansas City sound very appetizing right
Yeah,
now,
I
but
know.
those are
Well,
the funny parts when you're
so we
traveling
went
at 4 in
to
the morning.
we we went to my buddy Shigley, the one that was on the previous interview, Alexander the Great. If you want to listen to that about crypto, he was telling us all about his neighborhood, and he was like, "Yeah, you might just see a few crazy looking dudes or something out on the corner." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, man. Like,
I mean, it looked like a
we're
nice area during the daytime.
yeah, totally, like 100%. We pull out, and there's literally like I cannot. It's like this is gonna sound like some fan fiction or something, but this dude was just dancing, pulled his pants down in front of a car to moon it, pulled him back up, started dancing again, and then went over to the corner where his homie was dancing as well, and he had a liquor bottle in his hand
They were just
with a brown
getting it.
bag, just getting it, just like yeah,
Quite the
it was.
experience. Quite the experience.
So
But on a more
that was
positive note,
yeah, yeah,
there's tons of beautiful galleries there. There were a lot of amazing little crystal shops that we visited. We visited an art gallery that felt like a video game. Now that was pretty crazy. Now we went to an art gallery in Chicago. There were no side quests, lots of beautiful art, lots of just people kind of viewing and admiring it. But then
there wasn't even that many people watching the art like there was at Nelson. So Nelson is the one in KC. Nelson Atkins is the one in KC. And then the one we went to was the Chicago Art Institute. That was the museum we went to view the art.
I'd say they were both pretty steady. They both had a decent audience walking through, but Kansas City had an interesting vibe.
Yeah, but I'm more so talking about the NPCs just guarding the area.
There were no NPCs in Chicago.
Yeah, there was like literally, there might have been one. I think there was one lady at the entrance. And then that was it. But they just let us have a field day.
From the moment we stepped into the one at Kansas City, the art gallery, what was it? Nelson's Art Gallery?
Yeah, Nelson Atkins Art Gallery. Beautiful spot.
Totally, it was beautiful. Had some amazing art. But from the moment we stepped in there with our friends, it was interesting. They made us get little clock-in tickets because they needed to time us, which I thought was interesting.
And this wasn't a thing before I took you there. Like, you normally just walk up to the front steps, go in, and then that was it. So yeah, that was a whole new experience.
So they had to time us. They had to know how long we were in there. And then our one buddy went to the bathroom, and while she was gone, we were just hanging out near the maps. And that's when the quest began.
Yeah. So this old man I don't even know where the hell he came from. He just popped out of nowhere. And he was like
teleported there. It was crazy.
Yeah, he was just like, so do you guys need a map? Because we were like literally, yeah, he was just like, would you like a map? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it without anybody asking any sort of question or just any sort of direction, he's just like, yeah, so if you go to the right side of the wall here, you'll see the beautiful Roman architecture and Roman paintings. And if you go to the left, you'll see 1600s oil, pastel, and the likes. And if you go down here to this hole, and then at about that time when he was talking about like the second level with the Chinese and the Indian and Native American art, our friend comes back and she doesn't have her mask on. So he immediately like cuts character and he's just like, excuse me, miss, can you put your mask back on? Can you put your mask? And then she puts the mask back on. And then he's like, so yeah, as I was saying, if you go to this little area over here, and he just keeps going, and like,
me and Alex are a beat. No beats. Yeah, me
and Alex are literally trying to get this guy to just shut up so we can like go. And we just sat there and just took it. So this dude goes on for like 5-10 minutes, and then like, I think I asked one question. I was like, we just go down that hallway, and like, little did I know, he just like went into a whole nother thing. And I was like, yeah. And I was just like, oh, okay, dude, I think we got it. I think we got our bearings. Thank you so much, sir. Like, we're just, and like, Violet tried to say something, and that's when I cut her off, because I was like, we are not active.
Let's go.
Yeah, we are not activating this guy again. Like, just move.
He was nice, but it was like, that's how I knew we were in a video game. It's like when you start Zelda or some other random game, and they have to give you the full quest and show you how to use the map and how to use all your tools and what all the keys stand for. And the fact that he just whipped the map out of literally like nowhere. It was like a little kiosk box that had like a digital map on it, and we weren't even really looking at it. We were just standing near it, and he just like unlocks it and like very robotically gives us this map, and he like waddled. And then I started noticing I noticed like every character, every worker there, they all had a very synchronistic waddle to them. Like they were just like bopping back and forth like little characters. And it was just one after another. I think like every floor and every room, we had an interaction with one of the NPCs. And when we got split up from our friends, even they had like NPC encounters that sent them on random missions. It was so intriguing.
It was really crazy. And I think, so we had two encounters, me and Alex, right? And we handled them completely different.
Very differently.
So my encounter, this poor dude, this poor redhead guy, I don't remember his name. We're just going to call him Pat.
Well, they all had really generic names. There was like Pat and Jim and Gwen. And like,
I didn't even realize, like, yeah.
One syllable, very common name.
Short. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Pat was just observing us, and me and Alex were talking about this symbol on this painting, and I was like, that's the Omega symbol, and he's like, no, it's not. So I Google it on my phone, and I'm not even touching the painting. I'm just like kind of sort of like 3 inches off the painting, and I'm just showing him. I'm like, yeah, that's what the thing is. And then just out of nowhere, like within seconds, the guy's just on me. And so I'm looking at him and he's looking at me, and I kid you not, this is literally how he talked. He was like, "Sir, you can't touch the painting when you're looking at it. If you
And you were.
yeah."
And it was like his character glitched out, and like not even in a rude way. Like we were all just like, are you okay, sir? Like we're not trying to intimidate you. We're not trying to,
like, when you've leveled so much as a character in a video game that the other characters are like, oh my god, that dude's the real deal, like that dude is the shit. It was almost like that dude could just like, he just like saw the player level and it was like level 96 and he was like level 25, and he was just like, I gotta tell this level 96 character that he can't do the things that he's doing, which I wasn't even really doing anything wrong.
I mean, he probably thought you were going to be a jerk to him, but you were actually really nice to him.
So I sat there and I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to do anything. Like, I didn't even touch the painting, but yeah, I'll steer clear of him. I was just showing my buddy the symbol, and he just like, oh, okay. Well, just be careful. And then he just like walked away.
And that was one of the first encounters post Map Man. And then we got to this, it was like an exhibit that looked like a portal. And they had this little like metal fence thing, like a barrier in front of it, but you could still get your picture in it. Like it was about a foot away from the actual tunnel picture. And you were trying to take Alex's picture when the next NPC arrived.
Yeah. So the next NPC arrived and he was like, hey, you can't sit on that railing, because there was like a railing on the floor preventing you from going forward, which like made no damn sense because you could just literally step over it. And
it was literally just a bar. It was it reminded me of like almost like a gymnastic bar that they would like balance on as kids or something. It was very small.
Yeah. And the guy told us that. And then Alex got up and he was like, yeah, whatever. And he stood there, and I was trying to get other photos of other people. And like, for whatever reason, Alex just can't like ignore people, because the old man was staring the hell out of us down.
He was staring us down. There was no reason for him to stare us down. We weren't sitting on the little bar. We weren't even like close to the bar. I actually have a picture, and Alex is kind of like hovering, kind of looks like he's like squatting in front of it. And you could definitely see he's not sitting on it. So it was weird that the old man just stared us down for like a hot like 5-10 minutes. We're like, all right, are you gonna not? And
so Alex just chimes in. I was like, yeah, come on, Shannon, get your photo. And Alex was like, nah, let's continue going. Homeboy over there is killing the vibe. But I was like, Alex, just shut the fuck up. And he was like, no. And like, what's even funnier is I'll have to post it on my Instagram, but literally Shannon caught a picture of me like grabbing Alex's shoulder. Alex, I'm so sorry. I was just trying not to cause any more chaos that was already there.
You were like, let's go. Okay, fine. Because I mean, it's probably not the nicest to call a 70-some-year-old man homeboy when he's already very tense, but his name was something like super generic too. And if not, we're going to give them super generic names. So we're going to call him Jim, because I don't remember what his name was either.
I think it probably was Jim. Yeah. So we go into the main actual like old part of the art gallery where the older exhibits are.
Mm-hmm.
And we end up separating from our group.
I think that's when I got my NPC encounter. It was the little lady.
Oh no, that was the African portion of the exhibit. Yeah, so I completely forgot about her.
She was my favorite NPC. She's the one who sent us on our side quest. So she like, we were just sitting there and I was trying to get a picture of Allan with this like old crown looking thing like in the distance above his head. And then I sat down and she comes over and she's like, I like your pins. And we're like, yeah, we both have pins. We like both put them in our hats. We both collect them. And she like had a decent like 2 or 3 minute conversation, still very robotic. And then was instantly like, my partner and I, we collect cups. Mine are big and his are little. And I was like, okay, cool. And she was like, why do you guys like pins? And we're like, oh, it's like he collects his for travels, and I just like to collect different artsy pins because I'm an artist. She's like, oh, you're an artist, you should go to this gallery, they'll put your art there. And she was just like so happy and chipper robotic. And I was like, oh, so what's your name? She's like, oh, don't tell them my name. And I was like,
Yeah, that was so weird.
Okay, won't tell them your name. And then I was like, well, my name's Shannon, it's nice to meet you. And then like I go to walk away and she's like, oh wait, I'll tell you my name, but don't tell anyone else. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I forgot we walked away from her. And then
she like wanted me to know her name then, but then she sent us on our side quest, which actually took us to the Jones Gallery, which ended up being an amazing side quest that we'll probably get to after this story. But yeah, anyway, so that was my NPC encounter. And then we had like one or two more that was pretty wild.
Yeah, the one or two more that we had weren't that interesting, but like the last one we had just like blew me out of the water. So we're in I think it was the Anunnaki exhibit.
Probably. The picture with us with the really big angel carving is pretty sweet.
Yeah, so that was a Sumerian depiction of the Anunnaki. And we go into the next portion of the exhibit. And I shit you guys not, this cat walked out with a satchel and a fucking kilt and waddled forward. Yeah, waddled forward like just like a Minecraft character would, just hopping back and forth like a South Park character. And I'm like, what fucking reality am I living in right now? And I was just like, I like your kilt, man. And he's like, oh yeah, you really get the breeze up in there. And just like, I was like, and it was the top level. So in my thought process, I was like, he's going to pull something out of this satchel and then he's going to like send us on some stupid museum quest where we have to place this object back where it was originally found in the exhibit, which didn't happen. I wish
it didn't happen, but I ended up giving him a sticker and then he said, I'll see you later. And I was like, why did he say I see you later? And then he ended up being the person who like
walked us out.
Yeah, he came and he was like, now we're closing, like 45 minutes later. And I was just like, how did he know he would see me later? He like, and it didn't happen. So then I had this other visual that happened too. Like so this top floor of this museum looks down at this really beautiful fountain that has all the zodiacs on it that you're really excited to show me. So we're like looking out over the fountain. And then I'm like trying to figure out where Violet and where Alex is. And I'm like, all right. So I call Violet and she's like, I'm coming around the corner. And she comes out another door. You and I come out another door. And then we find out that Shigley went outside and he's like on his way to come back up. But it was just funny that we all came out onto different doors onto that balcony. And as soon as we all got to the top floor balcony, it was like the game was over and Kiltman came out of a different door on this balcony.
He came out of the back door, the farthest door away from all of us.
It just like waddles over and is like, it's time to leave, guys, we are closing now, and like puts his hands out and like waddles. I wish you could see the way I'm doing because it was so funny. He like waddles us out with both hands and pushes us out the door, like not physically pushes us but energetically is like the end game boss. It's like, you've finished this quest. We're just like, all right then. But it was also funny because Alex had literally just ran up 3 flights of stairs to join us.
Yeah, just to be. And the whole thing is we didn't tell anybody in our group about this. Like it was just me and Shannon. Yeah, like me and Shannon talked about it while we were like in the museum. And so later that day, we go over to Shigley's and we're talking crypto and stuff. And without so much as like any sort of nudge in that direction, I'm just like, yeah, man, I'm sorry about the whole, like I was just apologizing for grabbing him because I seen the photo and I was like, geez, I really put a lot of force into that. And I was like, I'm sorry, dude. I was just trying not to make a scene. And he's like, my dude, do you ever feel like you're just walking in life and you just entered a video game, my guy? Like that was totally scripted. Like I felt like I was playing Skyrim or something with the amount. And then the dude in the kilt, like, why was he there? And he's just like going on and on. And I was like
losing it. I was like, all right, Alex is a part of the game. He has unlocked a character. He's got a pretty solid avatar, but not often do I find others that are as into the game analogy. But he was 100% in agreement there. It was a video game.
Dude, there's been times in my travels where I've thought that. I'm just like, eh. But So the side quest we got taken on was the David Jones Art Gallery, which if you haven't seen it, it's in downtown KC. It's a beautiful art gallery stored in a warehouse that was built in the 1800s, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it was like 1898 or something like that.
Something along those lines. It was really
Yeah.
amazing. And when we first walked in, it took a minute for the gentleman to open the door, but once he did, it was like, all right, this little gallery is really cute. And then he goes, wait a minute. And then he like opens this door and you go into this whole back portal and you're looking around and you're like having a good time. And then he's like, all right, let's go to the next floor. And I'm like, okay. So he like unlocked the next floor and we go up these like metal back stairs and we're like checking it out. We're like, this is really great too. And then we like look around, talk to him a little bit more. He tells me about the process of getting art in there. And he's like, all right, let's go to the next floor. And I'm like, are we in another game? Like there's 3 floors in this like mystical gallery side quest. All right, dude. So then we went up to the top floor. There were like couches and just like a chill little area and even more
The
art.
dude had motorcycles. That was what I was excited. Yeah, like not like recent, like old 70s, 80s vintage motorcycles. He even had a machine that was an amphibious vehicle. So like its tires would literally set it afloat, and then it had a little jet propulsion system. And he had Tweety Bird and Tasmanian Devil up in the front. It was pretty kick ass. But the art gallery itself, so I pulled up the website. It was 100-year-old historically registered 9,000 foot square building, like 9,000 square feet of just art. So the first 3 floors we went up were, because when me and Shannon entered, we just figured we'd see the first floor, and then he's like, yeah, he's just like, oh yeah, so I got 3 more floors of art to show you. Just come along. I'll show you the things. It's really beautiful. And Shannon's mouth literally just dropped like 3 floors. Like,
I felt like I unlocked another side quest. I was just like, what in the world? Because little side quest lady from the museum, she was just like, this guy will display your art. And it was really cool because it was set up like a collective similar to my old shop. And the way that he ran it was just very beautiful and unique. And yeah, he seemed much more welcoming than a lot of other galleries, not necessarily in that area, but just in general. Sometimes gallery owners can be a little bit more recluse or like hoity-toity. Like, yeah. And yeah, but I was trying to be nice and use nice words. I don't want to offend other gallery owners, but you know, there's certain gallery owners that are just nice, welcoming, and on a vibe, and others that are like trying to be about it. Something that, you know, isn't nearly as welcoming. So it was nice to find the side quest and have no idea what to expect, and it ended up being really beautiful.
Yeah, the guy didn't even feel like an NPC. He just like that dude was a character all of himself. Like
he was a character for sure. But then he sent us on a side quest too, and then we didn't get to go on all those side quests. So we're gonna have to go back to Kansas City. But he was
oh yeah, it's okay. So like I'll tell people a little bit about KC since I travel there quite frequently and I'm in that area. So when you guys come to KC, all you listeners out there, KC has a host of murals. Shannon actually got to see quite a few, but there is some that I wasn't able to take her to. And then you have the whole Power and Lights district, which is basically just lights everywhere. And when you're in that area of downtown, the Wi-Fi is free. So within a 16 block radius, you have free Wi-Fi to take pictures of all these things. And there's also art. There's a couple galleries within that district as well. And then they usually close it off kind of like the Westport area. And one of the other places I think he told us to go was the train station, which isn't a train station anymore. It's more so like a hub for people to come and go. And it has some things in there that you can see. And I didn't take Shannon to the exhibit that they usually have there because it was Auschwitz. They had an exhibit on Auschwitz. The last couple times I've gone, it's been the human body experience where they plasticize body parts of like hearts and nerve endings and blood vessels, and they just display them in these crazy skeletal structures of like 3D proportions, so you can see how vast the body is and stuff. And then he was trying to get us to go to the World War I museum, which is the only museum historically representing World War I in all of existence throughout the world, as far as I know. And that museum is beautiful in itself. It has several pieces of live combat stuff that was used during the war. But mostly, if you go there and you're an artist, there is no, like, most cities when you go to, I feel like there's a niche. Kansas City is just the niche. Like, if you're an artist, pretty much where you go. The only place I can really think of that is comparable to KC is Austin. Like, I've been to New York, I've been to San Francisco, I've been to Seattle, I've been to Los Angeles, and they have art, yeah, but it's not like the city is art. Like, literally, I think you told me to stop at a few places to literally sit you down so you could get a photo.
I like getting pictures with graffiti. We got some cool pictures in an alley with our buddies with some graffiti, the cute whale, and then there was just like everywhere we walked there was a mural of some kind. And I thought that was pretty powerful. And I haven't been to Austin either, but I've heard a lot of good things about Austin. And when I had my gallery back in Cumberland, everybody used to always say that I would fit right into Austin. So that's on my my to adventure to list. But yeah, Kansas City was a vibe. Like I said, everybody in all the different shops were so welcoming. Like, usually as an artist, I'll go into different shops and I'm always looking for different places to put things on commission or wholesale or whatever. And we went to Chicago and there was a shop that was pretty welcoming, but again, like, the different art galleries and spaces weren't as talkative or as interactive, where literally everywhere in KC somebody was excited, they were smiling, they wanted to know more. It was actually hard to get out of conversations because people were so welcoming throughout the city, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, shout out to Oracle and Gemini. It's Gemini. Yeah, Gemini.
Yeah, Oracle, Gemini. We went to another, it was like the Light of something.
Light. I'm trying to think of the name of that place. Yes, so that place was
they were
in the Westport area.
Super into aliens and Lumeria and Mount Shasta. We went down a portal with that guy. He was super excited to show us paranormal things. And
there's a doggo.
There was a dog. I gave him a book. I got some crystals to make some jewelry out of. He was pretty cool dude. And his gal pal that was in there too, she was super into the whole Mount Shasta thing. So that was pretty cool. That whole side of town was interesting. They had like I guess it was a used bookstore. It was like just such a random vibe of books. And trying to
That's one of my favorite places to go, the bookstore there.
Yeah, you were having a great time with the pretend payphone.
Oh yeah, that's it. The White Light bookstore, that's what it was called.
Okay, I knew it had something to do with light. So they were pretty cool. And then we went to Gemini. So Gemini was such a cool little shop, and that lady like instantly saw our auras and lit up and was all about it. She had all kinds of angel things, and that was probably one of my favorite little gem shops. And then they sent us on a side quest. The guy's name was Jim, and he was like, so you guys look like you would enjoy going to a little psychic fair, or like a little whatever it was fair. And we were like, I mean, yeah,
sure.
Tell us about it. He was like, well, it's at this shrine club and there's these Egyptian statues. And I was like, excuse me? Okay. Because you and I had just went down this Egyptian portal of connection too. So we got there and there's these big Sphinx statues out front. And I was instantly super excited. And you were like, really? And I was like, yep, we're getting a picture. We're going to figure out how to angle all of the things before all these people get here. And you're like, oh, we'll get it later. And I was like, nah, dude, there's about to be a lot of people here. And I don't think you believed me, but I could just feel that this little holistic fair was about to be popping. And we got there early. Like, that was the other part that made it feel like a side quest. Was like, it literally had just started, like hadn't even actually started. Like, we got there 5 minutes early and had to just hang out for a minute. And you were like, oh, I think it's going to be like mostly older people. It's probably going to be like some knit scarves and things.
Grandpas and grandmas were coming in. And I was just like, we're like the youngest ones here. And I was just like, I don't know about this. Like, this seems like a knitting festival, not a.
I was like, no, dude, there's something in there we need to experience. And then we got in there and there were all sorts of crystals and artists. But there was this one guy who gravitated towards us and instantly like pulled us into his little portal of a table and started telling us all about his wife and how beautiful she was. And I don't know if she had just passed or she had passed a while ago, but he was still like honoring her mission. And it was
so his wife had actually passed away, like I think 4 months, he said, prior to him being where he was at.
Yeah, it
And
felt pretty recent, but I was so proud of him for still rocking her legacy the way he was. He did it with a lot of love.
yeah, he did very much so. And he the guy was pretty chipper, for recently losing someone. It was kind of funny though. We were talking to him and you were like, yeah, so mentioned something about her passing, and then he went down a whole thing where he's like, yeah, I've had 3 wives and they've all died. And you're just like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, I've kind of felt bad for saying it later, but he kind of laughed, and I think he was just like, yeah. But he was doing aura pictures, and I'd had my aura picture taken before, but I knew you had never had it, and I wanted to
I'd
get
never had it.
I wanted to get a new one because I wanted to see if mine looked the same. But then when he offered us to get one as a duo, I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. So how was that experience for you getting your aura picture done?
So I've never gotten it done before that point, but most people, when they talk to me or they say they see a color, it's usually like a bright yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on who it is, they say there's like angels around me, or there's like a purple crown above my head. Right. So we sat down and he put a black sheet around us. That way there was no color distortion whatsoever. And when we did this, we also took like all electronics off, all stones, everything. Like we got rid of everything.
Which took a hot minute to get all the stones off of both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we took the photo, and it took a while for it to do its thing. And he was kind of talking and explaining what she did and stuff. Now, the other crazy part is, so Shannon has told me for like several months now, and
several years.
Probably even, yeah. Well, you didn't say it several years. It's just a recent thing before you warmed me up to it. But she says that Michael is very, very strong, and the Archangel Michael is very strong in me. Right. So when we went to Gemini, I don't know if this was like confirmation or what it was. This lady, this random woman was like, yeah, I don't see any art. Yeah, she's like, I don't see any Archangel Michael books. Do you got any Archangel Michael books? And I was just like looking over at Shannon, and I was like, shut up. I don't want to hear it. And then like without skipping a beat, the lady was like looking at the collection of books that were talking about stones and metaphysical healing and stuff like that. She was like, yeah, so Moldavite, where's this Moldavite at? And I'm like, oh, don't need Moldavite, just stay away. And
it's funny because you were rocking your huge Moldavite.
Yeah, I was just rocking my huge one. And then the lady asked, and I was like, yeah, it's in this cabinet right here. Like, just there's Libyan desert glass, all the techites are right there. That's what you're going to want to look for. And that lady was, the owner, I should say, was pretty chipper and stuff. And then when she's seen my necklace, she's like, wait a second, what's that? What do you got on there? And I was like, oh yeah, that's Moldavite. She's like, nuh-uh. And I was like, yeah, no, seriously, it's a piece of Moldavite. This lady was like, literally, she's like, okay, like, I don't want to grab for it as much as I'm trying to, but like, I need to see the stone.
She did not believe you. She did not believe it was Moldavite. It's like a palm stone size piece of Moldavite that you've had since before Moldavite got big.
Yeah, I've actually had 2 pieces of the same size, and I almost bought another one today. And so like I was sitting there and I was talking to a lady, and she was like looking at it. She's like, I've never seen a Moldavite piece this green. And I was like, yeah. And then she did like, what was it? The pendulum? It's a little
pendulum tested it, and she scratch tested it. She put her goggles on and went outside and tested it.
She looked at it.
She like pendulum tested it and was like, all right, it says it's real. Like she was like having a hard time believing how magnificent that Moldavite is. Like she was just taken back. But it was funny. So we had the lady who wanted the Michael book, and then the Moldavite, and then I think there was another Michael reference in that shop before we got sent to the holistic fair. And the guy like takes our aura picture, and he's like telling me about mine being creative or whatever, and then asks Allan if he's creative, and then just stops and goes, you both have angels. But he's got Michael like all over him, and then I just start cracking up because he has a hard time believing it. You have a hard time believing you have Archangel Michael channeling around and through you. And it was just like, all right, so you got 3 confirmations now. Do you believe it yet?
So funny enough, there's actually Samson, shout out to Samson, who's going to be on the interview podcast, Wonder XP, with Noreen Lackey about their travels. So I went to his little get together at the holistic and metaphysical store, Mountain Gypsy. And I ran into a lady, and she was like one of the booth tenders or whatever. She deadpan stopped and like just looked at me. And she was like, "Oh, honey." And I was like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" Like, just like, she's like, "Michael, huh?" And I was like, "Shut up. I don't want to talk about it. Like, just stop. I'm just going to stop you right there." And, then Noreen did like a sound trance meditation of some sorts. I don't exactly like it had, I'm pretty sure it had Gaelic in it, like Irish Gaelic folk. But she was like, "Yeah, your lower 3 are just blocked right now, especially your sacral. You definitely need to work on that. Like your solar plexus and the rest of yours is just on fire." Like, so yeah, it's a lot to take in sometimes when your significant other is telling you things and you're like,
Doesn't like to believe me. It's a whole thing, but it's hilarious when everybody comes bopping in, confirming all the things.
mm-hmm.
How do you feel though with that connection to Michael?
See, I don't think it's the same as whatever it is, I guess you do. From what you tell me, it just kind of like superimposes or whatever over me, into me, or whatever.
Well,
I know you said,
it
go
kind
ahead.
of just like, I don't want to say it enters your body. You just channel in a different way. So like when I channel, I kind of look off to the side and I will kind of like interpret this, like download it mentally, and then I will translate it. You just kind of take action. So I noticed throughout the different experiences, we were dealing with NPC characters, but sometimes you turn into a character for other people's games and you'll send them on side quests, or you'll like protect them, or you'll like enter a conversation that helps save them from another conversation. And you just do these things like nonchalantly that I don't think you realize make you like a character, where you're just channeling this like protective Michael energy at random. We were at a couple other places. I think they were actually closer to Lincoln when we went onward the adventure after Kansas City, and we were at this water temple, and like this couple comes in and you're like, "Yeah, so I feel like you're supposed to go here, 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 and here." And I was like, "Well, that's weird." And you're like, "It's about protection and this is like structure, architecture." And you just like had this whole spiel. And I was like, he's totally channeling a side quest right now. So I think when we encounter these different NPC characters, to us, it's really angels kind of channeling in through them. Maybe not always angels, but some sort of entity is channeling through people to send people in different directions. And your most powerful channeling is definitely Michael. I've just seen you like step into situations, even with like the old man. You were like, "Alex, I'm not having it." And you went into like Archangel Michael mode, and we're like, "We're not picking on this old man right now." So it's just like, I don't know. Michael just like swoops into your body every now and then.
Yeah, I guess you said there was others though that are
Other angels?
Yeah, so like a couple people tell me that there's like 3. They've never been able to tell me which ones, but this is before like I started journeying as a tower hand or meeting people of that nature.
Well, I also think you work with Metatron a lot because you work a lot with numbers. Like you have 1111 as a tattoo, and you've always kind of followed numbers as different messages, correct?
I mean, they've never really let me down ever. I mean, they've always told me what's up or what's going down, or and it's not even numbers. Sometimes it's just like what do you call it? Totems or
Yeah, they can be
animals.
animals, but usually numbers are a Metatron thing. I guess animals could be too, but it's always funny when I'm like, "Hey, do you want to go here? Or you want to do this?" And you'll be like, "Yeah, if we see 444 first." And I'm like, "But okay, fine." You're like following the number sequences for guidance.
Yeah, we didn't see it. So fun fact, we didn't see 444 the rest of the trip.
I will get to that park. I wanted to go there. It's a quest for a different mission. But yeah, so you have Metatron, you have Michael, and then I think you recently discovered another one that you work with. But they come and go, and each person has different angels, and sometimes they're not always the archangels. They can be other forms of guardians or deities as well. So
Yeah, so you encountered, speaking of guardians and stuff, you encountered the wolf pack. You want to tell the people about that?
oh,
Or do you
that
want to
was,
talk about the church before we?
I mean, we can go in whatever order you desire there. The Wolfpack was cute. So we went from Kansas City. I think we covered most of the adventures in Kansas City. And then we went on to Nebraska. You were so excited to show me your homelands. I will say there were less cornfields than I expected there.
Well, it was also harvest season, so you got to give me
I was
got to give
like,
me a little slack there. Like I
it's like
can't
there are
like.
way less cornfields here than I'm expecting. We got way more that are still up and about over here in Maryland. Anyway, so we went to this church. Let's just go in order so we can remember all the adventures. You went to, is it called the Holy Shrine?
So it's called the Holy Family Shrine off I-80. So if any of you listeners are traveling at any point in I-80 and you are going away from Lincoln or away from Omaha, you will encounter it, and the only way to get to it is through a Pilot gas station. I believe the exit is off of trying to think here.
Anyway, freaking he decides he's going to blindfold me so that I can't see it before we
Yeah,
actually
you were
get there.
you were so like against that. Like I don't
I mean,
understand.
I thought maybe you were trying to kidnap me. I didn't know. You seem
No,
to
I mean
really
like
want me
I
to
was,
stay.
I mean there's a lot of cornfields to like be had
You
there.
kept saying there were a lot of cornfields. You kept really wanting me to stay on that side of the map. I was like, is this dude going to blindfold me and kidnap me forever? I don't know where I'm at already. Like, you could have just, there was no blindfold needed. But he was so excited to show me something. And funnily enough, he asks me, he's like, so where do you think we're going? And like, as I closed my eyes, I just saw this like beautiful scene of a lot of nature and sort of like an overlook. And I'm like, oh, I think we're going to an overlook. And I just hear him sigh. And he's just like, not exactly. But he was like frustrated that I kind of guessed it.
Yeah, that's kind of the crux of what we have is we have this ability to just, and I think I even did it with you. Like there was one point when we were in KC and you're just like, I am so hungry. And I was just like, yeah, so there's this great pizza place that has like $3.49 a slice pizza. Like we should go there.
And I was
And
like,
you're
how'd you
just
know
like,
I really wanted pizza right now?
oh, the funniest. So we go and get the pizza slice, right? And I was like, I have to pee like you wouldn't believe. So we're driving around and I was like adamant, like I could not hold it any longer. And I'm like, I'm not trying to get in trouble. I was like, I just need somewhere to pee. And like, I couldn't get to anywhere close. So I just saw this parking lot up ahead. And so like I drove into it. For some random reason, there's a porter potty. And I was just like, yep, this is where I'm stopping. And I throw it in park. And Shannon's just like, you got to be shitting me.
You just
I was like,
manifested a porta potty in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night.
and there was no construction in the area.
There
That
was
was
no
that.
reason for that porta potty.
Yeah. So anyways, just like we're little weird quips like that between us. So
Little
yeah,
manifestations.
yeah, I took her to the Holy Family Shrine, and then she says that, and I'm just like, God damn it! Like sometimes I just wish you were out of my head. Like that would be nice to keep surprises, you know.
I mean, I didn't know
But
we were going to a beautiful church. And for those that don't know, Alan really loves architecture, and this building is magnificent. Just the way that it's structured, the windows on it, where it's placed so that the sun can hit it at certain times. Um, it didn't actually look like a church or a shrine at all. I didn't actually get to see the beginning of it until afterwards. I go out, but when you first walk into it, it's supposed to look like a tomb. So you're like walking into this like little cave like tomb in the side of a mountain type energy. And then you go through this building, which I didn't see the first round either. And there's this amazing structure that's like dripping water. And then the water like flows through outside and it goes into the bigger shrine structure so that there's
mhm,
constantly running water. Did I describe that
mhm.
right? Okay.
Yeah, so
It's like a whole system.
for yeah, so for the I'll give them the backdrop. So
There
the
you go.
church was actually built in like 2000, and it actually was blown over during the building process, as they had to get refunding. And each piece of the church, because it's wooden and glass, so it's literally like a prism that you go into, save for the roof, was 3D designed and then cut precisely with machines. Like no humans really touched it other than the part of putting it together. But when you go into the beginning of this building, it's supposed to represent the tomb of Jesus when he was resurrected and rose 3 days later. So when you go in, it literally looks like an old Jewish tomb that they would put somebody in. So you go through these doorways, and then there's the metal spiral that's supposed to represent Jesus coming down to earth, dying for our sins, and then the water is supposed to be, I'm assuming, representation of his blood, and then the shrine is him taking us into everlasting life, is the way that I think was described to me. And so like Shannon didn't get to see any of that, like
until after.
Right. But there was like one lady, and she was like, "Welcome to the holy quiet." Like, just
she has her eyes covered for a reason, woman.
Like, you should have seen my eyes. Like, I gave her a death glare like you wouldn't believe.
But then I became the talk of the little venue, because they were like, nobody's ever done that before.
Well, because like nobody like, okay, so here's the weird thing about that. So like people travel from Lincoln to Omaha all the time. Nobody besides me ever stops at the shrine. They always talk about it. You see it. The shrine. So when the guy purchased the land for the shrine, originally it was supposed to rest lower where it wouldn't have been an overlook. It would have been in a valley. When he realized on the deed where he purchased it, it was actually on top of the hill. So that was kind of like a divine placement of sorts. It was really quite cool. So anyways, like I'll have a video later because I took a video of all this. So I was like, all right, Shannon, I'm going to take the blindfold off now. And you just like, when you opened your eyes, you're just like, oh my God.
I was like, first you did take me to a crazy field, but this building is amazing. And the way that the light hit it, I had no idea that it was a church until we like walked down this little path that had a whole bunch of like really beautiful landscaping to it. And there was like this water trickling. And I was like, what is this like water? What is the building I just came out of? And the water's like leading you to this building. And I'm just like, all right, we'll just walk down this little brick road here into this mystical building. And then you open it, and it's just this huge like sunlit chapel. And I'm like, well, I don't exactly know what he wants me to do here, but I feel like I'm supposed to walk to the very, very front of it. And there was like only 2 other people. There was one guy and one woman in the whole building. And it was like silent except for the sound of the trickling water, which was just very majestic. And I just kind of like walked to the front and just sat down, and you just instantly feel this like sense of majestic peace with the way that the sun's hitting you. Like, I don't think we could have asked for a more beautiful day to go either. I mean, I'm sure it would have been majestic with rain hitting it the way the windows are structured too, but very powerful little portal that was created there.
Yeah, on that day, there was no clouds, there was no rain, which in fall time is kind of like hit or miss in Nebraska. And then it was pretty close to the sunset, I think, when we went. So like the sun was positioned over, so all the light came through. So there was some shadows and stuff that definitely came in. But when you go in, it's literally almost like you're looking at the ribs of something when you look up into this chapel. Like, it doesn't got much for murals or anything like that, but my personal opinion, like just the way it was crafted and the wood and everything else, and this is me coming from like European architecture, is beautiful in its own way, because humans had to scientifically, numerically even, get that precise, because if one thing would have been off, it would have thrown the whole placement of the structure to the point that it wouldn't fit, especially with glass and everything else. And then I also like the placement of the what do you call that, where the
like pastor, the altar,
the altar. Yeah. So the altar is actually placed above, and then there's these cut out gaps where it's just these pools of water. And when you walk in, there's there's pews on each side of this walkway, and then the water flows directly up to the what was the word again?
The altar.
Yeah, it flows up directly to the altar, which is really beautiful in itself. And then the water trickling just kind of puts you into a state of calm. And me and Shannon had a long talk there. And then when you get out of the chapel, there's literally a walkway describing the whole process of Jesus dying, coming down, coming for our sins. And then so you go down this walkway, and then when you come back up, there is this huge monolithic metal stainless steel cross with him on it that is lit up as you're passing I-80. And that perhaps is one of my favorite crosses in the entire world.
Yeah, I'm not a very religious person. I'm much more of a spiritual person, but I always say Jesus is my homeboy because he like taught the way of like energetic healing and like leading the way into your own unique power. But that statue is actually one of my favorites now too, because it had a much more modern perspective and it wasn't eerie. Like usually you see pictures of or like representations of Jesus on a cross and it's very like sad because it is a sad representation of what had to happen to him, but that one seemed more powerful. Like it had a power to it and like a glory to it. Like I don't even know how to describe it. The whole venue was actually a lot more spiritual than religious for those that are intrigued but are also against normal religion perspectives. Even the volunteers there were very open-minded. Like I bopped up in there with my purple hair and a crop top on, not having any idea where he was taking me to some sacred shrine. Here I go as my little anime character. And the old men still like loved it. And they wanted to talk to us and we had this whole conversation. And I have to say that I was sent on another side quest, which I thought was probably one of my highlights of the shrine too, because they have the water and the little hydraulic system. And then they have this little like container of holy water. And you were just on side quest mode talking to everybody and giving everybody side quests and whatever you could talk to them about. And I was like, wait a second, I have a vial that I can put this holy water in. Because fun fact, the reason I was actually in Kansas City was I was helping with a convention and it was all about health and just like leading your own path and all these different things. And some random lady there, she had Appalachian water and I'm from the Appalachians. So I was like, this is cool. On the other side of the map, there's this lady with magical Appalachian water. And in the middle of the day, I was like exhausted and I messaged you and you're like, you need lemon and blah, 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 blah water. And I was like, well, oddly enough, I'm staring at this woman with this Appalachian water with all these different fruits in it that you just named. I should go talk to her. And when I went and talked to her at the end of the day, she like came over and she's like, I feel like you need this magic vial and your mission is to collect sacred water on your adventure. And I was like, okay, random lady, I'll take your glass vial. So then when we got to the holy shrine and I look over and right before I leave, they like say that you can take some of the holy water with you. And I was like, oh, wait a second, I need to go get my vial. So I like run out to your car and start searching for this vial. And that's when I realized that you walk into a tomb, because up until the very end, I hadn't even actually seen the front part of this event or this venue because somebody had me blindfolded. So then I got to like walk through the whole experience again with my little vial of holy water that I collected from my earlier side quest. So that was quite a little magical side adventure that we went on there. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I planned that one out very, very meticulously and specifically.
Yeah, it was a very powerful little moment. I won't forget it anytime soon, for sure. And it was a nice segue as we entered Nebraska. And that was my first trip to Nebraska. It was actually the furthest west I've ever been at all. So going to Kansas City and then we went to Lincoln. Is the shrine actually in Lincoln or is it right outside of Lincoln?
So it is, trying to think here. It is 30 minutes from both Omaha and Lincoln, actually, gotcha. which is funny in the way that works.
Yeah, so we went to Kansas City and then we went to Lincoln, went to that little side quest before Lincoln, and then went over to Omaha for a day before I had to fly back. So it was a nice little welcome to Nebraska adventure. Very cool.
So then she met the wolf pack, or as she calls it, the wolf pack.
I mean, I walked into this house and there was approximately 20 wolves within eyesight instantly. I was like, all right, this is a very wolf-centered home. This is going to be interesting because I like wolf like people who use the wolf as their spirit animal. It's very comforting to me. I've been welcomed into several wolf packs. Was not expecting to acquire one in Nebraska, but I seemed to have found a new home there. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all seemed very excited.
Yeah, I didn't think that was something that I needed to tell you per se. I didn't even think of that off the top of my head.
What, that I was walking into a wolf den?
Yeah, like they're very wolf centric. Even most of the things they buy is wolf centric. But yeah.
Yeah, he was real excited when I mentioned him too. I was like, "So you got a wolf pack?" And your boy was like, "Yeah. So what do wolves mean to you?" And I was like, that means like community and like fellowship and like you protect your pack. And then there's typically, there's usually an alpha and then there's like a leadership dynamic. And he was like, "Uh-huh." And I like tried to ask questions and he was just not having that part. So that was kind of funny and cute. And then we I don't know, I got to meet all of them for the most part.
And then
played some games.
Got to meet a Martian.
Got to meet the Martian. He was pretty cool. He was like, "I'm an alien." And I was like, "Yeah, where from?" "I'm an alien too." And he was just like taken aback for a second. I was like, "You're not telling me where you're from, bro. Like, I need to know." And he's like, "I think I'm from Mars." And I was like, "Have you read Prism of Lyra yet?" And he was like, "No." And you better remind him to read Prism of Lyra.
Oh, dude, I need to. I totally forgot about that. You know what's funny about that whole thing? So he said his dog was from Mars too. And I can't help but think of him as like Marvin the Martian. So next time I see him, I'm going to get like the little Martian dog and him. It's going to be great.
Goodness. You're ridiculous.
But it was also funny because your aunt had a cat that was named Blue and his dog is also named Blue and they both have blue eyes, which was pretty
Oh my gosh.
funny.
You reminded me we had another side quest in Kansas City. So my aunt was really all about taking me to, what was the place called? Zona Rosa. Guys, if you're in Zona Rosa at Christmas time, go get a picture by the crowns, but don't you dare go before Christmas because you'll get yelled at by the random security guards, even though there was no sign, no nothing that said no trespassing. They just have huge crowns. How do they not expect a couple of Leos to not want to go take their picture?
Pictures next to a crown, yeah.
We were doing nothing
still got
wrong.
The pictures, by the way. Like
they're so people. Blurry, but yeah.
Well, yeah. But
that was a fun side quest too.
Perhaps the like most beautiful thing I think I could have showed you besides the church was actually the Capitol building. And it's not much to look. It's like a castle when you walk up to it, I would say, especially in that photo that I took or you took of me walking up the steps into the structure,
I felt like I was in Ministry of Magic from Harry Potter the whole time I was in that building. The beautiful architecture, the artwork, the way the elevators were laid out, the way people were just so into all of it. It was a really beautiful building too. I wasn't expecting how beautiful it was in there.
Well, the other crazy thing that I didn't know about is that most of the architecture is represented by the Greek and Roman gods, and then also the astrological symbols and the sun. The sun is a main focal point.
And I'm all about suns, so that was magical.
Yeah. So the other interesting thing, if you look at Shannon's profile, you will actually see and surprisingly for how it is structured, it is very well lit, which I don't think you were expecting.
No, because it seems like a really dark old building that you don't expect to walk into and it be as lit up and as open. And it was even somewhat like natural light, it felt like, even though it was full of concrete and these pillars that she said were 14 tons or something insane, like two elephants.
The pillars are 14 tons, and then it's not actually concrete, it's a limestone, if I'm not mistaken, that makes up the Capitol building. It's a very beautiful structure, and I would highly recommend, if you're ever in Lincoln, Nebraska, to go to the Nebraska State Capitol. But the lighting was, in fact, they have a lot of windows, which is something you don't really think about when you look at a structure like that. Like the inside of the building is very lit. I've always wanted to like when I'm a multimillionaire, which will happen, to like basically shut off all the lights and walk in it during the day. I don't know if they'd let me do that, but the architectural style is kind of like a neo-Byzantine Gothic revival with some Art Deco. The murals, I think, are the main beauty behind the inner workings of that structure.
And most of them are mosaics, which is so
Mm-hmm.
powerful. And I don't think you knew that I had like a whole lifetime where I created mosaics for like a decade. When I was graduating high school into college, I fell into a portal of just making mosaics. So when I saw all the different mosaics, I was quite overwhelmed in like a
Yeah,
good way.
it's no, it's definitely beautiful. And I think what really sold you was, so when you walk into the structure is centered, and funny enough, it's actually on a ley line. And most of the lighting structures inside of the Capitol building are Merkabahs, which is one
Mm-hmm.
of the most powerful geometric shapes that you can have
It's
in
also
any
one of the
sort of,
signs of Metatron.
yeah. So, so you're literally walking into almost like a church-like feeling of this place. And the building is surprisingly not that old. It's maybe 100 years old at most, which is even more shocking. It's pretty much as close as you can get to Roman, Italian, or even Spaniard architecture during the 1400s and stuff, just the way it is. But one of the main selling points is when you go into the center of the building, there is this mural on the floor of these tiles that takes you through the entire life cycle of humanity, which is
Mm.
just powerful in itself. And then you have the little demigods positioned. I think there's like 5 of them, right? If I'm not mistaken.
There's one in each direction and then one in the center. And I actually got videos of all of that I'm hoping to make into some reels for my Instagram this week. So yeah, they were exciting. There was a lot of them.
Yeah. And it's actually getting rebuilt. We weren't able to go all the way to the top of it, but I think the main selling point that she really loved was the angels up top, which I had never seen before.
Mm.
Like, there's literally every time I go into that building, I find something else that's beautiful. And the angels are actually in the center of the building on the main floor where you see all the murals and stuff. And Shannon just points up, she's like, yeah, there's freaking angels up there. And I was like, oh yeah. And so we got a really beautiful photo of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, angels are my thing, so I'm glad I could point them out to you.
well, and the thing is, I never realized how many angels were actually in that building.
There were a lot of them and a lot of suns. So I like walked in and there was like their little NPC greeter woman, and I was like, wow, that looks like a sun. And she was like, well, actually, there's a sun here and a sun there and a sun here. I was like, all right, cool. I have unlocked the sunshine portal. We are in it. So yeah, that whole building is really magnificent. I think one other thing, I mean, we went to some crystal shops that were cute in Lincoln, but the other big thing that was really powerful on my adventure there was the botanical gardens that you took me to. I'm surprised you haven't
Oh,
mentioned them yet.
oh yeah, I totally forgot. So there is the botanical gardens that are in Lincoln, which not a lot of people know about that don't, visit Lincoln that often. But the botanical gardens was a structure that was built during the Great Depression, so it actually put a lot of people to work, which was something that was hard to find during the 1930s.
Yeah, there was some
And
beautiful roses and all kinds of things that had been there
mhm.
for generations.
And funny enough, I think there was even a couple species that were of roses that were specific to that particular botanical garden.
Hmm. Yeah, I liked how it was in two different parts too. So there was the rose garden, and then basically we
Hmm.
like crossed the street and went up a block, past a couple synchronistic numbers, past some 222s on the way. And then there was this whole other portal that I wasn't expecting, because the rose garden's beautiful and it has like a labyrinth in it. We made a grasshopper friend that was super loud. And I made a little video of this. So I already have a video up of the Botanical Gardens. But then when we went to the second part of it, I honestly was blown away. There were these two huge pools of koi fish that were huge. I guess they were more goldfish, but regardless, they were really beautiful fish. There were elephant ears bigger than you, like probably came up to your waist, honestly, which were huge for me. And all different other kinds of plants too. And the people there were just so nice. And then we met this like older lady who was like, you need to go to this shopping center in Omaha. And I was like, oh, we unlocked another side quest. So it was really cute. The statues were magnificent. There was one there that was like 100 years old. Is that what it was? Or was she a reproduction of one?
She was a reproduction. So I actually think the statue is, I want to say 30 to 40 years old. But that particular garden, so there's another garden in Omaha that's actually enclosed that you could argue has more beauty to it. But the one I took you to, the Sunken Gardens, is the only garden that Nebraska has listed for National Geographic's best gardens to visit in the United States. And in fact, I think it's like top 100 somewhere in there, which is even, more special because, you drive through my state and pretty much all there is corn.
But I saw no corn.
Well, it's harvest season. Definitely.
I just had to give you a hard time. I was expecting a lot more cornfields, people.
But what's even more crazy, I just looked this up, is that the Botanical Gardens were actually constructed in the winter of 1930. So during the Great Depression, during the winter, which you haven't experienced a winter in the Midwest yet, which I'm looking forward to. But it put a lot of people to work, and it took somewhere around, I think it was 10 years to build. And then in 2003, a renovation process put it into what it is today. But the lady at the well was something that was originally concrete, and then they made a brass reconstruction of her. And she sits at top, basically watching over the whole garden, as kind of the Gaia figure, so to speak.
I was like, what's up here? We're going up here, right? And you were like, yeah, we'll go up there. I was like, I just feel like I'm supposed to go up here. And it was just this beautiful statue.
Yeah, very majestic, really tiny woman, really beautiful. And she basically feeds water into the entire structure of the park, which is cool. And I think you really, really like the koi fish that were in there, because you like walked up to the pond and you were just like, oh, this is cool. Oh my God, there's koi fish.
They were so big and beautiful, and there were white ones and orange ones and black ones. And I paint fish a lot. Like I paint like the dynamic of the koi fish a lot. And rarely, if ever, have I seen them in person like that. And I mean, I've seen a lot of fish. I live near a lake, but those ones were just so majestic and had like a different vibe to them. And they just like came right up to the water, and they would just like kiss their like lips up at the water at you. And they were very interactive. I enjoyed that part of the video game. They were nice quality graphics.
And they're not even like, when you see most koi fish at some of these gardens, they're like dull in color and don't look like they've been taken care of and have chunks missing out of them.
These were some meaty, majestic koi fish.
Yeah, like you want to
like size of your arm.
Yeah, there was a yellow one that literally was shining like a gold, like a solid 24 karat gold.
I got lots of videos of them.
Yeah,
I'm going to use them for my drum videos, upcoming drum videos, because I love me some koi fish. They were beautiful. I did enjoy them a lot.
That's kind of funny, because one of the other things that you didn't get to see because it was shrouded and being rebuilt is there is the sower that sits atop the Capitol building. That's representation of our agriculture industry in Nebraska. So the sower is a 12-foot man that has a bag of seeds that he's spreading across the entire state of Nebraska, that sits atop 480 feet in the air. And he's solid brass, I think, or copper. I can't remember, but he is a big dude. I think he weighs somewhere on the side of like 8 tons or something. I can't remember, but see, I was hoping you would get to see that, but
sounds like I need to make another adventure. But yeah, so that was kind of the highlights of the Lincoln part. Is there anything else you want to talk about in that part of the adventure?
I don't really. There was a lot of things that I left out because we just had a time constraint. So maybe on the next adventure, I'll take you to some of those. But for the
Yeah.
most part, I took you to the really. Well, I guess what did you think of the attractions?
In Lincoln, it was different than I expected. Like I said, I was expecting a lot of cornfields, and instead I've got roses and koi fish in beautiful architecture. So I was there for it. I was there for it. Now comparing it to Chicago, since we were doing that with Kansas City, it was still a lot more welcoming and a different experience. And the botanical gardens were amazing. It kind of reminded me of the same majestics as the Morton Arboretum you took me to in Chicago.
Oh yeah,
They
with
both,
the giants.
yeah, I don't know if we talked about that on one of the other podcasts I did with you, but that was also a really powerful experience since we're talking about majestic structures. I do want to
Mhm.
give a shout out to that. I feel like I didn't give Chicago the glory it deserved, and it was like that was probably the highlight of that adventure was the Morton Arboretum and its different landscaping and plants. And I wasn't expecting something as majestic like that in Lincoln. I'll be honest. I didn't have a clue where you were going to take me or what adventures you were going to go on. And we stopped at crystal shops and whatnot, but I did enjoy the beauty of that little botanical garden. And it's okay. We didn't get to all the things at once. If you can't tell, we obviously did a lot in a week span on top of the work event that we hosted. We helped an app that I was working with briefly throw an entire VIP party for all kinds of amazing people. So by the time I got to Lincoln, I was so exhausted. And then we still went on to Omaha. By the time we got to the hotel in Omaha, I was like, I'm taking a nap. We're passing out for a hot minute. But I still wanted to kind of experience Omaha. And like you took me around during the day. We went to a couple of places, but I felt like we didn't get to like have a moment in Omaha until we woke up and you're like, I'm going to figure out where this place is. And like we went on one last adventure before I had to leave the next day. And you pulled something really interesting out of your magical rabbit hat.
Yeah, so it's how long ago did I hear about it? 7 years. So the place has been open for 8, and I've been searching for it for 7 years because even though I don't drink, I really love a place that I can have a nice mixed cocktail because I'm so picky about my alcoholic beverages that go into my system. But my specific favorite spots to go are speakeasies. And what a speakeasy is you go into one building or structure, or there's somewhere you go, and it doesn't look like a bar. There's no evident signs, nothing. It's really recluse, really secretive, and you feel like almost like, like, oh, the cops are going to find me kind of thing. And then you like say a secret word or a secret passage, or you knock a certain way, and then you enter the place, and then it's hidden behind a wall. Or in the case where we went, the bar was called the White Rabbit. And funnily enough, the place that we had to go into in order to get to said speakeasy was called the Looking Glass.
And
So
I
when
thought
we
we were
got
just
in,
going to a liquor store. I was like, he doesn't even like alcohol. What is he doing right now?
yeah, so like I totally didn't tell Shannon what we were doing. I was just like, yeah, we're gonna do something great. Like this is gonna be amazing. Like
Turn
just
your
trust me.
camera on. Let's go. I was like, all right. Okay.
Yeah, we actually took one of our friends that was having a rough time. I was like, girl, like this is gonna like totally pull you out of that element. Like just trust me. And like we get into the liquor store and Shannon's just looking at me like, you totally promised this girl you were going to show her something simply amazing. And like, we're just sitting here. I mean, there's dogs here. Like, I could just like see your brain processing everything.
I
And
just
I
didn't
just like
understand
looked at
it.
you and I was like, are you ready? Are you ready for this? And then the people leave and I went to the lady and I was like, yeah, so I'm looking for the White Rabbit. And then you like looked at me like, White Rabbit? Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, that's usually a code word for like different extracurriculars and substances
Oh,
in some
yeah.
situations. So I was like, what
Yeah,
are
that
you
was not the
doing right
case in
now?
this one. She's like, yeah, so can you see your IDs? And then another group of people came in, and then she like gave this whole spiel. And I was like, all right, where is it?
But she was
Where
like,
is
you
the
will not leave in the same way that you came. And I was like, what is about to happen right now?
yeah. So she hit this lever underneath the desk, and then the liquor that was wall that was up, she pushed, and it was a doorway, and then you go into this back part of this darkly lit bar. And I was like, yes, I finally unlocked it. Finally, after years.
It was like the final quest of my adventure. He was so excited.
I've been trying to find, like, nobody has been able to tell me that place, because, like, fun fact, when you type these into Google, they often won't show up at all. And that's part of the allure to them, because you actually have to put in some work to find these places. So I had been searching for eternity, it seemed like, to try and get into that place. And then finally, with the help of Shannon just being there, I guess, I just like went into the hotel and I was like, I am looking for this bar. I've looked for this bar for 7 years. And if I do not find it tonight, I'm going to be really, really, really pissed. I need you to tell me where this bar is. I know you know where it's at because it's telling me it's in this location. She's like, oh yeah. So if you just come out here, so you see that liquor store right there? If you just go into that liquor store and say White Rabbit, they'll take you right on back. I was like, thank you. That's all I needed.
Mission unlocked.
Yeah. So then we sat down and you were like so overwhelmed because you started looking at the drink menu and you had no idea.
They handed me a big book. It comes in this like majestic looking book and you're like supposed to flip through it. And I was like, I don't know anything about fancy cocktails. I like tequila. I don't know anything else. The guy was super helpful. He was super about it. And yeah, he was excited, it felt like, to make us majestic drinks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the appeal of speaking. Fun fact, guys, if you ever want to take a girl out for a drink, that's where you go. I don't care how you find it. Yeah, speakeasy. That, like, if that does not get you in the sack the first night, there's no hope. Like, all you have to do is just take her into that magical portal of just like seclusion and like just privacy, and like it's a whole experience that people really don't appreciate enough. And the one I wanted to take you to was completely different than the White Rabbit, but the White Rabbit was really cool. And the attention to detail in the drinks that they make there, like this dude literally had a whole chunk of bark from a cinnamon tree and was lighting it on fire like he was about to start a campfire and just threw it in the drink.
I mean, that bartender was a whole character in himself. He was wearing a banana shirt and all kinds
of
like
you know, like a pink flamingo shirt, but with bananas. That's basically what it looked like.
Yeah. And everybody there was just in their own little vibe. And the waitress was like super excited to talk to us about saints and angels and all kinds of majestic things. And it was just not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah. And then like while we were sitting there, like we encountered a sugar daddy couple, I want to say. I don't know what that whole aspect was.
I love how you just like to bring out the side highlights. I'm like trying to make everything sound majestic because it was such a majestic experience.
That old man had the right aspect of what he was trying to do. Like,
I mean, I was trying not to eavesdrop the conversation, but they were about to go-karting and paint. I mean, they caught my attention when she said, have you ever been to a paint and sip? And I was like, this girl knows what's up because I used to teach paint and sips. And she was like trying to get this older gentleman to take her to go-karts and paint and sips and all the other things. And then we looked at the bar and it was just like such a eccentric group of people in this venue. There was this slightly older woman with a very young girl, and I was still trying to figure out if that was another sugar mama situation happened or if it was a mother and daughter or some sis. I
don't think it was a mother and daughter, because this mom, if she was a mom, this mom was dressed to the nines. Yeah, she was showing all of her curves, baby girl. Like,
I mean, she was like a pretty woman. She was allowed.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. Like I kept looking at her and I was afraid she was gonna think I was hitting on her, and then she'd sit down next to us. But like I was just like trying to figure out the dynamic, because I was like, okay, you look like a lot like one of the friends that we met in KC, and you're just in a whole like, I'm trying to be a snack vibe right now for whatever reason. Like I'm just trying to pick up on this energy you're laying down.
They were quite a eccentric duo. I mean, everybody there was very eccentric and very unique in their own right. It was quite a little experience. And then we got our drinks. We had a good night. The girl sent us on a side quest that we didn't get to experience this round, but I am kind of intrigued by. She sent us to another church with saints and blessings and all kinds of things. I think it's interesting for as not religious as we both are, how we get sent to side quests and adventures with churches and angels.
I wouldn't say that I'm not religious. I'm just,
I mean, we talked
don't-
about this in like your very first podcast. We both have a very unique perception of spirituality.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
So
Mm.
then Shannon went off to Chicago, and I was trying to send her on a quest without me, but she didn't do it.
That's
So-
because I've never been on a plane by myself until then. Like up until that, I'd traveled with people. And then I left at like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 and got into Chicago at like 9 o'clock and everything was closed. All of the people in the airport were, gets me back to the people in Chicago were not as friendly. I like tried to ask one of the people at one of the little snack stands where this quest was. You were like, go to the walkway with the lights. And she just looked at me like I was like, I don't know, hurting her by asking her anything. And I was like, okay, this person's not going to help me. I was like, I'm sorry I spoke to you. Sorry I looked at you. And then I like asked another attendant and they were just like, it's not worth it right now. And I was just kind of like sad. And we had just went on so many quests. I have to say I was quite exhausted, but I will check out the lit walkway. Is that where it was in Chicago?
All right. So next time you go, if you have to ask somebody, just be like, I'm trying to get underneath. I'm trying to get to the escalators that take me underneath that have lights adorned the whole way across until I get into the other side of the airport.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned it because then I had a client when I got home and I told her that I had a layover in Chicago. And she also said, did you go through the walkways? And I was like, what is with these walkways? Like,
well, there's like a dinosaur, there's a lighted walkway. You don't even have to walk. I don't know why it's called a walkway. You literally walk like maybe 10 steps and then you're on this little treadmill thing that just pushes you across. Yeah. So you don't even have to walk. You just like take it all in. It's beautiful.
Well, hopefully my next layover isn't at night when everybody is tired and cranky.
Well, if you get another layover, set it for a couple hours so you can really experience Chicago. Like, okay, so I'm going to tell listeners right now, like, if you ever have layovers in these two spots, you really need to enjoy the layover. And I know that's like cynical for me to say. Chicago and Denver National Airport are perhaps the most mystical or terrifying places you can really experience a layover.
I have heard some things about the Denver airports. The murals there, I actually did like a whole report on them when I was in college. Like it's some insane artistry up in Denver. I haven't been there personally, but I do want to go. Actually, that's the other reason I asked you how far you were from Denver the other day, because I want to see that airport. But yeah, Chicago, the layover was not ideal. The other reason I was like, I don't know if I'm trying to go on this side quest was because how often do you get off a plane and you're late? Like your next plane is literally the gate next to where you get off. Barely
never.
So I was
never.
trying to not get lost because I had manifested, because I was so afraid that I was going to get there late and be too tired to figure out where my gate was. And literally the gate I needed was directly next to me. So I was like, this was an instant manifestation. I'm not going to lose my portal here.
Well, I was just trying to take you somewhere that not a lot of people see, because like it was when I went to Chicago, I was like, oh my God, this is a whole experience. And then the dinosaur, you didn't even get to see the dinosaur.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll see the dinosaur eventually. Like, I don't know. When I go to Chicago next time on a layover, maybe I'll manifest you there so you can show it to me. But I did think it was quite interesting that of all the places, my layover ended up being in Chicago when we had just unlocked that map. This is part of the whole thing where I think life is a video game. For me personally, it's like I unlock a certain part of the map and then I end up there on an experience. And like Chicago, we had just visited together and then my layover just happened to be there. On the way to Kansas City, my layover was in Philadelphia, which was somewhere else that I had recently unlocked with some family. So I thought that was pretty funny. And Kansas City, I had been trying to unlock Kansas City for literally like close to a decade. I have an aunt that lives in Kansas City and I had never ever been there. And then
your aunt was a hoot, by the way.
My aunt is a character. I love her, but I'd been trying to get to her and it didn't work out. And then I like set it in my mind. I was like, all right, I'm going to Kansas City. I'm going to see my aunt. I'm going to see Allan. And then all of a sudden my friend Z's like, by the way, I'm going to be hosting a vendor table at this event in Kansas City on this day. And I was like, what are the fucking odds that you're hosting this event and you need people to help you literally like 3 days before I'm supposed to be there? She's like, yeah, I'll help you get to Kansas City so you can help me like promote my app and do this art thing there. And I need somebody to help me with this party. And I was like, I feel like I just unlocked this mission. So that like helped me get out there, and then I got to unlock Kansas City, and you helped me unlock Lincoln, and then I've had several synchronicities since then, and I'm just like, life is a video game. I'd love to know who else thinks life is a video game. You should go like comment on this episode and make some I don't know,
I'm
discussion.
probably gonna snippet it and put it in my story because I feel like I wonder if Emily has ever had any
NPC experiences.
Oh, she has got to, with as many places as she's been in Europe. Like,
definitely. I mean, that I think that should be a question for upcoming episodes of you. Like, have you ever experienced an NPC character, or do you have any thoughts on life being a video game? Because it's a interesting phenomenon how many people really do think that we're, I don't want to say in a simulation, but in some sort of portal where life is a game, and like you can either really unlock your power avatar, or you can just be another player in other people's another player in other people's games. And like you and I have definitely unlocked our power characters, and like we step more into them as we align more with our powers and things like that. And you have a lot of different power players in your video game, as I've noticed, but it's always intriguing to see who else out there, especially listeners that have managed to find your podcast, also think we're in a video game.
Yeah, that is true. What do you mean by power characters? I'm trying to transcribe this whole thing that you.
Like we are aware of the game, so we play it. Like we're like, all right, you gave us a side quest, let's go on the side quest. Where other people would just be like, oh yeah, they like suggested this thing, but then like we unlocked it, and then they would send us on another quest, and like we're aware that people are channeling messages for us and like leading us to the next adventure.
Well, if CeeLo and I and you all go on an adventure this summer, we need to like edit in like a boom, like just like some little title for like a quest. And then when we complete it, we can just like put like some experience like counter or something.
That's kind of my mission with that, is when we go on the Bring Me to Life tour, which I'm manifesting this into reality. I want to travel the country with both of you so bad. The Bring Me to Life tour is all about the quest, and like I want us to create like bucket lists and missions for us to unlock, because I think that would make the documentary and the adventure so much more entertaining. So I think also
Alex
curious.
should go on that.
I mean, I think what's going to happen is different people are going to pop into the adventure, and it's going to just keep getting more intriguing for people to interact with. That way there's always new characters, there's always new things to unlock in side quests. And I'd even like some of the listeners to, you know, like send us some things to like add to different bucket lists, because I think that'll make it even more fun for everybody.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like that's some of the best adventures, when you just go to random places that you never.
Right. Like I want to go to Mount Shasta. We're going to unlock that map for me, because you and CeeLo have both been and I have not. So I'm going to Mount Shasta. It sounds like we need to go to Austin and see some of the stuff there. And you want to ride a bull. I'm sure there's a bull in Austin.
So actually, fun fact, like I've been looking into that. There is not a place where, there's not. I looked heavily, trust me. You would think something, Texas. Yeah, no. Nevada is where that's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, CeeLo's got a brother in Nevada, so we can probably make that happen.
Well, there you go. I'm sure people would love to see me get entangled with a bull again after the last time I encountered a bull.
Yeah. I'm both excited and terrified to see it in person. But
I mean, like they put pads on you and like a helmet, so it's not as scary, you know. Like,
don't worry, guys. I'm gonna capture this all in video.
I'm telling you right now, I'm riding that sucker for what is the time limit? I think it's like 6 seconds. I'm gonna ride a bull for 6 seconds.
We're gonna take bets on it. Who's taking bets with me? We'll see how long this lasts. But you look that up, but then I think I'm ready to round this up, because I need more water and these headphones hurt my head.
8 seconds. A cowboy must stay on the animal for 8 seconds. So,
cowboy, you're trying to unlock the title of cowboy.
Oh, I'm trying. Yeah.
The
100%.
title for this mission, Allan becomes a cowboy.
Like, I don't even care if I get knocked down and it's like 6 seconds. I'll be like, all right, get another one. We're doing this. 8 seconds. 8 seconds out the gate. Like, that's my.
You're ridiculous. Let's see how this goes. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure which one's worse, a bronco or a bull, because a bronco gets higher than a bull, but a bull is like it's a pissed off bull. Like, yes, I'm talking about all you Tauruses out there. I live with one, so
you and your Taurus vibes. All right, homie. I am ready to pop off. This has been a great podcast. What a good discussion. I love sharing stories, and they're quite animated when we get to share them together.
Yes, they are. So with that being said, I hope that you guys understand that, going and exploring and doing things is an amazing adventure. You can make a lot of memories. And sometimes you just got to make your own adventure when you go about things, Thanks again for listening to the Wonder XP podcast and following along on the journey. Go ahead and rate, like, and share this to any of the social medias that you so happily desire. Also, go ahead, if you feel the need to, bringmetolife.com/WonderXP, where you can donate to the cause and help me bring more amazing people on this page. And if you feel that you need to understand yourself better, go ahead and sign up for an astro reading where I will give you a detailed or summary version look as to what it is that makes you function and how you go about life. And as always, sometimes you just need to make your own adventure.